everybody out there. How y'all doing? Welcome to Legacy Life Prep Podcast. So today I have some special guests, Michelle and Miss Denise. Now I gotta tell y'all the backstory because we all met doing primary life insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I came through Michelle, and Michelle introduced me to Miss Denise. And ever since then, we've been sisters ever since then, including the Ladies League of Baltimore. Miss Michelle right here.
Yes.
After that, y'all need to talk to her, all the ladies on here.
Right.
So after that, it's been a sisterhood. So this podcast, I wanted to introduce other life insurance agents who can tell that aspect about life insurance. And I will start with Michelle introducing herself.
All right. My name is Michelle Daniels, and as Carlotta mentioned, I was a life insurance producer at one time, and now I'm just in the referral life insurance producer business where I'm just making referrals. However, I did spend at least 4 years producing life insurance, so I will come from that perspective and what I've seen while I was writing policies and after.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And Miss Denise.
So hello everyone, I am Denise, and I've actually been in the industry for 17 years now. So I am just going to come from what I believe that life insurance is during that time we speak. And any other questions that Carlotta might think she
because y'all know I had my questions.
My
questions down.
I love it.
Freestyle too.
You know, I'm a great interviewer. I don't know if I'm good at it being the interviewee. That's a big difference for me. We're going to try this today.
You're on the other side.
I'm on the other side. Let's see how this feels.
You're on the other side of the fence. So I started off with your introductions. Now I'm going to ask Michelle first. When you were doing life insurance, what made you get into the life insurance industry?
Wow. I stumbled upon Miss Denise somehow, somewhere. I don't know if it was an ad or if it was Facebook. I'm not 100% sure now, but I know we wound up talking, and I actually went to her office and sat down and talked to her. And what I said to her at that time was I wanted to be a millionaire. At that time, I was on this road to being a millionaire, and I still am, but my focus is not necessarily on money, but on people, right? And doing the right thing by people. So that's what basically got me into the life insurance business, Miss Denise telling me how I could help people. And that is my primary and only goal in life, is to help people. And so I want to do that in business, in my personal life, everywhere. But I believe that life insurance helps not only people, but generations. So not individuals, but generations. So that's what got me in the business. And that's why I still make referrals today, even though I don't have the time to actually write
yourself. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And Miss Denise, how did you get started?
Okay, well, let's see. I actually got started, like I said, 17 years ago. And I really got started because I was introduced to the whole financial concept from my nephew. And what I found out was that I was actually being taken when it came down to life insurance. So I realized that as a people, there's a lot of things that we just don't know.
Yes,
And I realized that I could do better, and I wanted to do better, and wanted to find a path to help do that, and not just for me, though, for everybody else out there. We were seeing too many GoFundMe's, even way back when, and too many people passing away, and their families were just devastated, and it didn't have to be that way. And it was like that simply because most of the time, they're just not educated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they needed the education. So that's why I started.
Yeah. Okay. And back in the day, it may not have been GoFundMe's, Miss Denise, but it was fish fries. They would get that money together to bury, their loved one. And I just like to say it's already a devastating time, right? And to have to worry about money just makes it
even worse.
I mean, it is 10 times worse if that's the case.
Yes. And I got started because I was introduced by Michelle for the second time. The first time, I'm going to be honest, when I got started, it was for money because I was young. I was like 19.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, it was like, oh, I can make a little bit extra money.
Mm-hmm.
But the second time, once you get into it, you get a better understanding of what it is, and you're helping people. The aspect of helping people financially is what got me. It's like, okay, I need to be doing this because I like to help people anyway. Anybody that know me know I'm always about supporting the next person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got into it. And it is just something I just ran with after that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Once you know you can help people, and if you're in the business of helping people,
Right. If you're in the business of helping people, then yeah, right.
This is.
And we got people commenting, so that's why I'm looking down, looking at my phone, because people commenting on here. And there she said, doing the right thing by people, right? Doing the right thing by people, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, the second question, well, you may have answered. When you were an agent, how long were you an agent?
I think it was 4 years, if I'm not
4 years?
mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 years.
And you were, you already said 17 years, and she's been in there almost 20 years, y'all see.
Yeah.
This is the person to talk to about everything.
Yes,
The good, the bad, the ugly, the ins
Yeah.
and outs. That's the person to talk to.
17 years, you've seen
She's seen every much.
almost every scenario, possibility, you know.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the next question. What do you think, Michelle, why do you think life insurance is important for everybody?
Well, I think life insurance is important if you do not have money saved to bury yourself or your loved one. You don't have enough money, and I think a decent policy nowadays can cost you $20,000 off the break, but
Right.
with bare minimum, right? I ain't even talking about the doves at this point, you know,
Right.
and the third celebration. If you don't have money saved, you need a life insurance policy. That's just the honest truth. If you don't have enough money in your savings account to bury someone that you love, you need life insurance. That's just my opinion.
Okay,
Mhm.
Miss Denise.
Same question?
Yes, same
Great
question.
I
I want the good answer. Come on.
gave you the honest answer.
No. Michelle's answer was great,
Yes.
but it's not all of it.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have to have money for burial, but life insurance is so much further than
Mhm.
that.
Yes.
Life insurance is about income protection.
Mhm.
For instance,
Yes.
if you have a husband, you have a wife, and you have children, and I want you guys out there to think about this. If you die today, would your company continue wherever you're working at, whatever you're doing, would they continue to send your paycheck into your family every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever it is? If that answer is no, which it is for everybody, unless it is totally your own business that you're financially independent in,
Mhm.
other than that, that answer is a no. But do the bills keep coming into your family?
Yes.
Yes, they do. So tell me, how's your wife and the children looking? They got all of your bills, but none of your money. Wife, how is their husband and the children looking? And they got all of the bills and no money. And even for a single parent.
That's true.
How are our kids surviving?
With grandma or auntie or sister,
Cousin,
whatever.
and I've had so many people tell me that, well, my mother will take care of my children, and my sisters will take care of my children. Yes, they will, because they love you. But the question is, can they afford to do that? They are barely taking care of themselves right now. You know, most people are living paycheck to paycheck. So they're barely able to do that. Now, all of a sudden, they have all of this extra burden. And if you can prevent that, I believe it is our responsibility to do so.
Oh, yes.
Listen,
Yes.
so you want to know, that's a great question. And that's a great answer, because it's the truthful answer. And most of us don't think about that, because we just are in the day-to-day survival, pay the bills this month, this year mentality. And none of us even want to think about not being here.
Exactly.
Not being it. But we know plenty of people, people who have left here, and their kids are still here, their family is still here, and they still got to be taken care of. And a lot of times they suffer. And not just life insurance, but have a will as well. You have things. Have a will. Anyway, I know.
And I'm gonna piggyback off of what both of y'all said, because as she said, the income protection part, that's the most important, I feel, because like you said, if you die today,
Mhm.
that money you was getting from your job is going to stop. What do you have? Not only that, with savings, like Michelle said, are you investing anything? Are you investing your money somewhere? Because if you're not, then you definitely need to have some life insurance because you're not investing your money into anything. You know, as they both mentioned, there's people living to paycheck to paycheck. There's inflation everywhere. You can think of milk done gone up, gas done gone up, BGE, housing costs, every small and big thing you can think of has went up.
Mhm.
So just think if
Even Amazon went up.
listen. Even Amazon, listen, hold on, because I looked at my Prime the other day, was like, wait a minute,
Wait a
start
minute.
charging
When Amazon Prime go up, we in the recession. We in the inflation.
Amazon and Netflix, all that stuff went up. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? You know?
Yes.
So with everything going up, if the breadwinner was to pass away, how y'all gonna keep take care of your responsibilities? Some people not only have children, they have homes that they own, they have businesses and things like that. So it's like it's an income protection. It's something I feel that if you're not investing your money into somewhere, you definitely need to have some type of policy on yourself, on your spouse, on your children, grandma, grandpa, cousin, aunt, uncle. Everybody need to be tuned into
Let's
that.
just say everybody. How about everybody?
Everybody.
Well, the question becomes
Because it is income. Because you think about even people, millionaires, billionaires, they got life insurance.
They got nice size policies.
Because they understand the
No,
income
y'all favorite
protection.
rappers and everything.
The
They
income
got
protection
insurance.
of it.
Trust
Yeah,
and
they
believe.
understand that. They understand
They
that.
understand that.
They
Well, the
definitely
question
understand that.
simply is how many people out of 100 are going to die?
Everybody.
That's right.
Trick question,
That's
right?
just a definite, you know.
Everybody's going to die. Just
Everybody.
like the way
Everybody
everybody's
will die.
born, everybody has to go.
Listen,
You know, everybody has to go.
listen. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we did. What do you think? Why do you think life insurance is important? I'm going to start this one with Miss Denise. What's your take on GoFundMe when it comes to life insurance?
Well, GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy. Look on my Facebook, you'll see that often. GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy, and the lottery is not a retirement plan. So that is just simply not. So think about it like this, because it nationwide it actually costs about $15,000 to bury someone.
Yes.
A lot of times when people do GoFundMes, they might get $2,000, $3,000 to help with that process.
Right.
So, but you could spend a few dollars a month and avoid GoFundMe.
Exactly.
And so it's first off, it's not fair to the families that have to do the GoFundMe because they don't have time to grieve right now because they're trying to figure out how they're going to get this money to bury this loved one. I've seen it happen to a lot of people, and it's not pretty. It's not at all. So they're grieving. They have this loved one that's passed away, and they don't have any idea as to how they're going to do it. And now they have to put GoFundMes out there. And GoFundMes don't get as much money as we think they do, or as people think they do. That's number one. Number two, you have a lot of GoFundMe scams right now today.
Yes, she do.
So a lot of people aren't going to even donate to it because they believe it's a scam, and they see that it's a scam. And number three, it simply don't have to be. It can be avoided. Education will avoid it. I believe that if our people, period, knew better, they would do better.
Exactly.
And the thing is that they just don't know. There's only 3 reasons why people do not have life insurance income protection. The first one is that they just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, they did know. They just thought, oh, I'm going to get it, and they never got around to it. And number 3 is because they think it costs too much.
Exactly.
And if any one of them are the situation, you need to talk to someone about it.
Exactly. And same question for you. What's your take on GoFundMe?
I think it's pretty much the same. I think that GoFundMe is a great tool or a great app, when you're trying to pool money together for a particular reason. But when people rely on it, it's almost like abortion is not birth control either, or
Right.
A good way to avoid having a baby or pregnancy,
Exactly.
But so many people sometimes use it as birth control, right? And I think GoFundMe is used in the same way. It's a great opportunity if tragedy happens to get support and and get what you need, and people have. But I don't know if I want to bank on that, for my family, or that people will even be at a place where they can. Because the time that we live in right now, most of us that are in the middle income bracket, we can't afford to do much of anything.
Exactly.
Extra. I mean, even contributing to things like GoFundMe and things like that, people looking at it twice, like, who and so,
exactly.
I just think that we have to get away from the excuses and really ask ourselves if we really care about our families, even though things do come up, and it's just one of those things. So I think GoFundMe is a great thing. I don't want to down the
concept.
But when people start to rely on that, it's like you look at that.
That's what I was going to say. For me, it's when people rely on it. It's like, you know what? If I pass, my friends and my family can just do a GoFundMe. That shouldn't be your take of. If you pass away, I just know I have
you heard that in the field?
Yes. I've heard that. I've heard. Well, some they can pass around the hat. I've heard that they will figure it out. They can do a GoFundMe. Now I feel as though for people that just aren't aware of the importance of life insurance, so sometimes they don't know the importance, so they have to GoFundMe because they didn't. Nobody ever taught them. They don't have anybody that come. But those, because I have people that I know personally, and I'm like, why did this person even have a GoFundMe? I know they're not broke, so the broke is not about the finances. And you start thinking like, what on God's green earth will have this person having a GoFundMe? Why don't you have a policy? Uneducated, and then those are those who are educated and just choose not to do the right thing, and then bam, they pass away, and they like, family is like, well, we got to do a GoFundMe because we don't know if they had the money, or we don't know if they have a policy, everything. So
denial can be a great comforter.
Oh yes,
and that's what we deal with a lot of people. Denial is a great comforter. It could be your best friend, and denial will talk to you like denial is right. Okay, you get what I'm saying? And a lot of people are comfortable in denial. Because denial allows you not have to take action, not have to take responsibility, not have to, and that's what a lot of people don't want to do is take responsibility. And so I just think that when we hear that, that's shocking me that people actually say, listen,
I've heard everything.
No, I thought I heard everything in the field, but nobody said that to me.
I've heard, even from having clients, I've heard the client tell me they gotta stop their policy because they can't afford their cigarette habit. So listen, when I say I've heard it all,
Well, like I said, denial. That's what I mean by denial can be your best friend if you allow it. But really, denial should be your worst enemy. It really should be something you fight to not have, or to not be in denial. So.
Okay, got it. So we all on the same page when it comes to GoFundMe.
Yes,
it's okay, it's good, but not when you're relying on the GoFundMe. That's when it's like, no, you should have something in place for your family. So we all on the same page. And I'm gonna start with Miss Denise with this one too. Should people have policies outside of their jobs?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now that's huge, guys. So I want to say this to everybody out there that has a group policy through your job. If your job is giving it to you, excellent. But ask yourself this. First off, who owns your policy? Number one, it's not you. So if you don't own it, what rights do the owner actually have? So the owner has the right to change it, to do whatever they want to do with the policy. But bigger than that, that statement that I just made is written in your certificate. Because if you have a group policy, you've never received the policy. Think about it. You received the certificate though. You got a certificate of insurance. So I want you to look in that certificate of insurance, because it says in there, can this policy be amended? And it says yes, without your consent. That's number one. Number two, it also says, I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's actually called the at-work clause. The at-work clause is written in every single group policy that's out there.
Mhm.
And if you read the at work clause, it says that you are not eligible for coverage if you're out sick, if you're out
Come
for
on now, school
sickness
them.
or illness. So ask yourself, do most people drop dead at work or do they go out sick for a while?
Mhm.
And guys, I am very passionate about that because that's real. And I had a friend a couple of years ago that passed away. She was diagnosed with cancer in March. She died in April. And the company that she had been with, and remember, it's not your company because they're not the insurance
Tell them how
people.
long
It
she
is
was
the
there
insurance
as
company.
well.
She was there 30 years.
Mm.
She died in March.
Mm.
I mean, she was diagnosed with cancer in March. She died in April. And that insurance policy did not pay out because she was out 30 days.
Wow.
Now, all insurance policies, the amount of time that you can be out differs. It varies. But who says that? It doesn't tell you anywhere in those policies. The only one that I know that tells you exactly what that length is the post office and the federal government because that's on the internet. So they tell you what their length of time is that you can be out sick. But most commercial jobs or different things, they don't have that out there anywhere. Hers was evidently 30 days, and she met that 30-day threshold, and her company did not pay out, and her family was devastated.
And my question to that is, do you know what your policy?
Do you know what your policy saying?
So
that was some serious education.
So the thing is, have the group policy if they're paying for it. Sometimes it's like maybe $1 or $2, and you think it's $1 or $2. It's not a lot of money. Okay, that's extra for your family if something should happen. It should not be what you totally depend on for your family.
Right.
So you ask yourself, who should be in charge of my family? Me or this company?
Somebody else.
And that's the reality of it.
That's
we
the
put
reality.
too much of our responsibility in other people's hands.
Yes.
You know, and
I totally agree.
I mean, even with school, I don't want to get off topic, but even school. So parents, we put too much in the hands of the school.
Ooh,
and
that's
the
a whole
school
nother
system.
topic.
It's a whole nother topic, but it goes to the mindset.
The mindset,
and
yes.
the thinking of the people you guys are coming in front of and that I was in front of when I was out writing policies. If we have that mindset, we'll do that in every area of our lives. And we have to get out of that mindset.
Exactly.
And we have to take back the responsibilities of our families. If you delegate that responsibility to the school system to educate your children, fine. But I wouldn't be delegating who gonna take care of my family to anybody.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And like you said, well, your question was the same question about if you know, what's your take on having a policy outside of your job, and you can elaborate more on that too, because that's one of the things that I get all the time in the field is, oh, I have it on my job, and I have to start explaining like Miss Denise did to them, like educate them, like, do you know this? Do you know that? Because they assume it's on my job, I'm good to go.
Well, I have to keep it 100. I was that person. You get what I'm saying? Because I had done that. I'm working. I'm doing what I need to do to take care of my family, especially when my kid, my son was younger. You know, all I could do was do those 9 to 5 types of jobs because of the activities he was in school. And so I was one of those people who really, really relied on the fact that I had this on my job. But what I later had to learn was, how about I grow? How about I don't want to be at this job? How about I get an advancement? How about I go someplace else? Then what, right? And so I was also one of those people who got this stupid with my car insurance. You know, like I'm getting a little, and they don't even really give you that much of a discount. Don't let people fool you on that. But, you know, you can loop it all together and get it, and that's great and that's wonderful. But the bottom line is the buck stops with you. Your responsibility is your responsibility, and we shouldn't be letting anybody else control that. And your job is the owner of that policy. If business start going wrong or going bad, they might cut back. And if they cut back,
if you leave the job,
if you leave the
job, that part. If you leave the job,
that time between you leaving that job and finding another job, you know, I think about COVID. Like if COVID didn't teach us anything,
my God,
it should teach us to be as independent as possible. Because we never know what can happen.
So a lot of times, you know, what people say about that, you know, and I ask, so what happens to your policy if you leave the job? And a lot of times, the job will allow you to take the policy with you.
They will.
But now, though, there's some things on it.
There's some
stipulations with that.
Yeah.
There's some stipulations, and a lot of people say, well, I can take it with me. You can take it with you. But when you take it with you, there becomes another type of coverage that you have to get, number one. Number two, the cost is probably about 3 times, maybe
Higher.
4 times
More.
higher
Mhm.
than what you're paying right now. And it's going to be based on your age that you are now. If
And
you
health.
started that job, yes, and health. So you have to do the health thing all over again. So if you started it 10 years ago, what they might have given you that coverage for is a lot less than it would be today. And you're going to pay more anyway because this is a group. And because it's a group, they were able to have the premiums lower. You're not going to get that benefit. It will be 3, 4, maybe 5 times higher than what you're
And in the first 2 years, it's contestable.
The
right?
contestable period,
So you start that period,
All over again.
All over again.
But that contestability period, if I can speak on it.
Yeah, you can. Yes, this is open.
Huge. So I need to speak on that because a lot of people misunderstand the contestability period. They think that the contestability period, which says if you die within 2 years after writing that policy, that the insurance company do not pay off. That's not the truth necessarily. That's not the truth at all. It is if you're getting funeral coverage or funeral expense policies, and they tell you that.
Right.
So you know that up front. But if you're getting a regular insurance policy, that's not the truth. What the statement says is that if you die within 2 years, the insurance company has the right to investigate.
Thank you.
To find out.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes, to find out whether or not what you told them was the truth.
Was the
or not.
truth, yes.
So an example is this. If your agent asks you, in the last 10 years, have you been diagnosed with cancer? And you say no. Then 6 months in, you die of cancer. The company is definitely going to evaluate you and do the same thing and see what's going on. And what if they find out that you were diagnosed with cancer before you purchased that policy, then they won't pay.
They won't pay that policy.
But if you were diagnosed with cancer one day after you purchased that policy, they have
good to
to
go.
pay out.
That's what I want to come
And
from.
2 years and 1 day, it doesn't matter. They can't even ask you the question.
Yeah. Yes, they contestability period.
Is what that contestability period means. So if you have not lied on your policy, you don't need to worry about the contestability period.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And piggybacking off of the contestability period, because it's very important to know about that. Like somebody like myself, okay, I didn't wake up with lupus, but one day I had lupus. Thank God I had my policy before I found out I had lupus.
That's right.
Because like you said, if I would have had the lupus after getting the policy, there's nothing they can't do about it. I had to tell people that they can't touch you. You got it after the policy. But if you have a condition before getting the policy and you die or something from that condition, they can say, oh, wait a minute. This person said they didn't have lupus. They didn't have cancer. They didn't have,
But
you have
to have been diagnosed with it.
Yes, diagnosed with it.
Not doing your own diagnosis.
Yes, diagnosed on paper at the doctor. Let's say
From the
that.
doctor saying that this is what you have.
Yes, from the doctor. So
So
that's very important.
But this information is so important. I hope people watch it. I hope you continue to share it. I know I will, because people don't ask these types of questions. And then you got, like, you know how you got jailhouse lawyers? You got street life agents who want to say, girl, you ain't got to do that when you're fine, don't worry about it. No. What we're talking about is law, right? It's the insurance law in Maryland, right? And so it's not what we think, it's not what we say, it is the law. So, yeah.
It is definitely the law. And also, I wanted to piggyback also on when you leave your job, because I've had several people when they left their job and they're like, why is my insurance so high now? I took that insurance from my job. Well, you were 30 when you started, and now you're 62. And now you have illnesses, and now you're not 30 years old anymore. You're not in the group rate. They're gonna rate you where you belong. If you're a smoker, now you're a smoker now. You wasn't a smoker 30 years ago. It didn't even matter because you was in the group policy. Well, now I smoke cigarettes. Now I have whatever diabetes or whatever you may have. So you think they're gonna give you that same policy to take with you at the same price?
But I think it's because people do not understand insurance and the business of insurance. Insurance is the business of insuring more healthy young people, right? And so that's why if you are older and have health problems, you're going to pay more because you're more of a risk to the insurance company, meaning they're going to have to pay out possibly for someone older with health problems before they would have to pay out for somebody that's younger and
exactly.
And so that's why you pay more because you're more of a risk. I don't think people know that. They don't.
Yeah, they don't understand that, and that's why I always educate first. I be on the phone with some clients. We be talking for a long time because we get into the education part. And they're like, "Oh, we've been on the phone for an hour." Well, I don't mind because I'd rather educate you first of what you're getting yourself into versus this is your quote, what you want to do. I'm not that agent of this is your quote now, what you want to do.
And no, I have to be honest, that's how the old school agents were, right? And they used to come around insurance companies just collect the money, you know. But I think what they lacked, which is what our generation is dealing with, is the education.
The education.
See, grandma and them understood the importance of life insurance. They just didn't teach.
And they didn't understand either.
They understand
the importance, but they didn't understand the policy.
Yes, they didn't understand the policy. They understood the importance.
Right.
But I think what happens is if you don't teach that other stuff, people don't continue from generation to generation to understand the insurance policy, and what you should or shouldn't do. Because schools don't even teach it. You know, like, you ever heard about insurance?
No, and I think schools should teach all financial literacy. I think it should teach life insurance and credit and everything, but they don't. Right. That's a whole nother topic.
And that's another thing we delegate to schools to teach that we should be teaching.
Right, exactly. Now, Michelle, I'm going to start this one off with you. Do you see life insurance as just a bill or do you see it as an investment?
I see it as a bill and an investment. Okay. I'm a realist too. I'm not even saying bills like everybody. Right, it's a bill. But I think the reason it also is an investment is because the bills I have align with my values, right? So I think if you align your bills with your values, bills are only how you choose to spend your money. Right. So if you align that with your values, then you understand the investment that is in your family, right? And the betterment of your family, right? So I think it's both, but I think that no matter what the bills are, whether it's life insurance or a savings plan or retirement or even cable, it should align with your values.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? For real. Because I had to realize Xfinity don't align with my values anymore.
So you had to get rid of
it. This month they gone. Exactly. They gone this month. I think that's really where. See, for me, it's more, and y'all know this is the work I'm in. I'm into the mindset because I think that's where real change happens. And the only way to change the mindset is to educate yourself. And that's why I'm happy to be here today, just talking about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the same question for you. Do you see life insurance as just a bill or an investment?
Okay, so the way I think about that is that cost is only an issue in the absence of value.
Ooh,
so we don't think about the cost of anything that we think is valuable to our lives. So when people look at insurance, no matter what kind of insurance it is, as a bill, then they're looking at it as if this is something I can stop someday.
Right.
So it's not that valuable to me. Because if you think about it, if you drive, you better have car insurance if you have one. And you do. Why? Because it's a value. You know you got to have it in order to drive. So that's not something you let go. Your rent or your mortgage, if you're responsible, you're going to pay them.
Yes.
Why? Because it's valuable for you to have
be outside
over your head for your family.
Absolutely.
The same thing, when you think about those things, you should think about life insurance the same way. It's valuable for my family if something should happen. If you do think about it like that, you will not lapse it. Now, you might have an accident and lapse it. That happens. People change bank accounts.
I've done that myself, and I'm an agent.
And then you fix it up. And then you fix it back. But you don't just let it go because you say, okay, I don't need this right now. Because you remember, you think about the fact that we all know our birthdays. How many of you know your death date?
No.
Nobody did.
No one.
And that can happen at any time.
Yeah.
At any time. So if you have that mindset of, oh, well, this is just another bill, I can drop this until maybe 6 months down the road when I get back on my feet. If you're thinking I can die within 6 months, then you're not going to allow it
to happen
to your family. So as far as a bill, I know that people think of it as a bill. I don't like to think of it as a bill, and I like to try to educate people not to think of it as a bill.
Okay.
And to think of it as a investment in yourself. Because that's for your family.
Definitely.
And to piggyback off both of y'all, I feel like I agree with both of y'all in different aspects, because I feel like this, like you said, you drop cable because you're like, that's not what I got going on. I ain't got that was a bill, and I feel like I tell people all the time, when you think about life insurance, when you're getting a policy, treat it like you treat your mortgage and your rent. Do not let it lapse. If you got to pay late, pay it late, but don't let it lapse. You got to borrow the money from a cousin. Y'all borrow money for everything else. Okay, can I borrow some money? My policy is due. I'm not working at the moment. Pay it, because I've seen firsthand with a family member, with friends, with someone that their policy lapsed and somebody when that policy dies.
Yeah.
And,
and one last thing to that. Hardships happen, and things in life happen. And it might become a time where you really don't see how right now I can pay this. But don't just drop it. Call your agent. Call the company. Get them to lower it for you. Oatmeal beats no meal at all.
Yeah.
It's better to have something in that coverage
than
nothing. So get them to, you can call them, you can call your agent, you can call an insurance company and get them to work with you and lessen the amount of coverage for right now. Exactly. And then later when you get things back together, you can actually increase it back again. But don't just let it go.
That's a great way to do it. And I've told clients as well, because stuff happens, especially during this pandemic with COVID. I've seen so much happen with people policies, and it's like, oh my goodness, even with people that have it just on their job. Your job now putting stipulations because now it's a COVID clause, now you can't do this and do that. Or people dropping their policies because of COVID. So it's like,
a COVID clause.
Yes, it is. Oh yes, it's a lot of stuff has changed. When COVID hit, they said, "Oh, we changing all this, baby. Y'all not gonna get our money." Oh yeah, yes.
Check my policy.
But that's why you should always look into what you have and stuff, because you just never know. That's why I say, don't. If I tell my clients, okay, there's a hardship. I can work like you said, lower that policy, but don't just not have anything.
Right.
Because I've seen it for myself. I'm like, that person was just covered. What you mean they passed away? And it's like, it hurts even more when it's somebody you know. It's like, wow, hey, they just had this. They had this policy for 5 years. They got elapsed for a month or two, and then bam, that person is gone, or their child is gone. Whomever died. And it's like, oh my goodness, I wish I could have saved them, or I wish I could. But that's why we're educating, because the more we educate, the more people will understand. Listen, don't let that policy lapse. Lower it, or do whatever you do. Borrow that money from whoever, or whatever you need to do. But
I'd much rather pay your policy than contribute to GoFundMe.
Right.
Exactly. Me too. Because I've had people that I know personally that had to GoFundMe, and the insurance lady in me was like, I don't think I want to. I'm just being honest. A part of me was like, I really don't think I want to give money to this family for GoFundMe when everybody in that family knows about life insurance. It kind of is like a catch-22. Do I want to help just out of kindness of my heart, or is it like, no, I don't want to touch that?
Are you feeling like you're enabling them?
Exactly. Yeah, like a part of you is feeling like, am I enabling them to think that people going to just keep giving it to them when they know better? Because some people don't know better. So I'm not talking about the people that don't know better. But there are some people that actually know better. They just don't choose not to do the right thing. How do you guys feel about that part?
Well,
that in there.
Well, I do have something to say about that part. And the reason is because I have several of my agents that have said just that. Okay. They talk to family members and different people, and then they've come up with, I'm not giving them nothing. I talked to that lady 10 times before she died. And now she died and everybody got to come up with money. So one thing that I can say to calm it down. The person that you talked to that did not get your life insurance is dead. They're gone. So now we have the family that's left. So this is an opportunity. It's an educational opportunity. It's an opportunity now to educate that family on what
a real life experience.
A real life experience, and that's the best time I like to talk to
on
them.
what's necessary. And you can do that by actually helping and donate. You might not want to. I mean, your heart says
No, I had actually still donated, but my heart was like, ooh,
your heart says, no, I don't want to do this.
But I think there's nothing wrong with not donating and educating because that is still value. That's still
it is. Oh, you cannot, but it comes off a little better if you're giving like $10. Here's my $10. We would invite $10.
But let me educate you. Let's have a family meeting. Let me come to your family house.
Why? Because 9 times out of 10, whether you donate or not, that whole situation is stressful for them, and they are not going to get the money that they need. So if they don't have the coverage now for themselves, now is a good time that you can.
I think what y'all talking about reminds me of the book, The 4 Agreements, where it says nothing anybody else does has anything to do with you. So if a person doesn't get a policy, that's not because of you.
That's right.
That's on them, right? And it's their denial, right, of a situation or lack of accountability that's allowing that. So I think you just have to weigh your heart and figure it out. But I definitely wouldn't take it personal because nothing anybody does has anything to do with us.
And I think for me, even though I still donate, when it's a family or close friend, I'll be just so upset. Like, not necessary that you, because I always tell my family, you don't have to get a policy through me, but make sure you get something and make sure you're reading over what you're signing your John Hancock on. And when somebody passes, I just be like,
it really will blow.
So why don't you never went and got a policy from anywhere?
It really
so it just take
and the reason is because it's so unavoidable.
It's unavoidable. Yeah, and you care about the person.
It's just some things that happen that you just like. Yeah, that's nothing you can do. But being able to bury your loved one or be able to care for your kids is unavoidable. Right. It doesn't have to happen.
Now, we only have a few more questions left, y'all. So I'm going to start this one with Miss Denise. Should children have coverage as well? This is a good one.
Yes, it is a good one. And that answer is yes. But children, you should not spend a lot of money because children are not breadwinners.
Exactly.
So, God forbid, that's a policy that we hope we never, ever in life have to use. But the purpose is it's insurance for just in case. So you ask yourself, how many kids have died before the parents? Quite a few of them. So if something should happen, then you want to be able to put your child away or whatever you do. You want to be able to do that nicely without the stress. You're still going to have to do it. So you should have a small policy on your child, just enough, I think, just enough to bury them. You can have a little more, it depends on how you get it. If you get a policy that's a rider on your policy or something like that, you may get a little more. I think the average amount is $10,000 to $15,000. But you may decide that you want to get a little more than that. And you can. Because some people know that if something happens to my child, I'm going to be devastated and I'm going to have to be off for a while. So then you have these funds that's going to be able to help you with that. But I think that people should definitely have, especially in this day and age.
A lot of people children are dying before them.
Yes.
I can speak on my family alone. The kids are dying. We're burying young people under 40, under 25, under 21. Before we bury the 70 to 80 and 90-year-olds. So it's definitely.
Yeah, and another reason is that if you get a policy, a small policy, don't let any insurance agent talk you into getting a huge. I had to talk to a young lady once. She had $100,000 policy on her 2-year-old, and she had a $10,000 policy on herself. The thing is that she really didn't understand.
Yeah.
And the agent that sold it to her should have been shot. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this on your thing.
No, we not
They don't ban
I mean, she telling the truth, y'all.
That
Sorry.
was horrible. But the
That
young lady, but the young lady thought that she had the best. She's like, my daughter's got the best one. And I said, what do you mean by that? And then when she told me, I said, oh my God. I said, do you recognize that means, do you understand that if you die, your child is, that somebody's going to get $10,000 to take care of her for the rest of her life. But if she dies, you are going to get $100,000. She did not recognize that. She didn't realize that was going on.
Maybe that agent made a mistake.
Maybe he meant to do the reverse. Maybe he meant to give her I'm a hope that
usually when people have big policies like that on their children, they're not happy about it when one of their children dies. That's like blood money. Mm-hmm. So they're not happy about that. But you do want enough coverage so that you can bury them, and you might have a little extra, because a lot of times what happens is when they get to a certain age, you can actually convert that over to a policy just for them without ever proving medical. So if anything has happened along the way with them, then it don't cost. You're good to go. And you usually can get maybe 5 to 7 times more than the coverage that you have. So those are the things you want to think about when you're getting coverage on your kids.
And that's the same question for you, Michelle. Do you think children should have coverage?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to belabor the point. I think that they absolutely should, and I think if you don't have coverage on your children, that's the first thing you should do Monday.
Yeah.
Is call Carlotta or Denise and get you some coverage on your children, because it's just the world we live in today. And it's the right thing to do. It's integrity, right? It's just the right thing to do because it's just the right thing to do. And I think it goes back to the mindset that we have to change in our community. And that is that we have to take responsibility for our families. If the sad part about it is, though, if social services told us we had to have it, we go get it.
Exactly.
You know? Exactly. If somebody thought, they had an opportunity to win the lottery by getting coverage on their kids, they do it. And so we just have to change the mindset and know that these are things that we need for our families. And when you start to have a family, as a mom or a dad, that this should be the things you talk about at the baby shower. I wish we would give people this education at baby showers.
That's a good idea, because I've done it at different places.
But a baby shower, that's the beginning of the family, right? Yeah. And at wedding ceremonies and things like that, because if you love me, your actions should go along with that. And this is all a part of love. Life insurance
is showing love. A gift of love.
Yeah,
it is a gift of love.
Action. It's love and action.
Life insurance is called your last love letter.
Yeah.
So that's why you should have your kids, I think.
And the reason why I asked that question, because sometimes I get in the field and people will say, well, I'm getting a policy, but I'm not getting a policy on my child. So my first question normally is, well, why wouldn't you want to have a policy?
Do they feel like it's jinxing?
So some people, you have some that think it's a jinx, and then some that feel, well, I'm a die before my child, but you don't know that. Right. So they already assume that, I'm gonna go first. My child ain't gonna die.
That's because the knowledge is your best friend.
Yeah, so I educate people, and then I still have some people that have policies, they just still don't have any of their children. But I always try to educate them first about that.
And then you just say a little prayer for those people.
Yes.
Hope that it doesn't come back later.
Right. Okay, then let's see. Michelle, why is it important to own your own policy? And I have in parentheses outside of like your parents, your grandparents, because I run into those. My grandma got a policy on me. I'm good. So I'm serious. I know you have. Grandma got a policy on me. I'm good. I don't need no policy.
I think I never had the opportunity to put some of this responsibility on anybody else. So I never had the opportunity to say, Grandma got me covered. So that's why I'm like, people just be saying anything.
But all the time, though.
But it really does go back to what I was saying, that people give their responsibility over to
somebody
everybody but themselves. And I think it's important to have your own policy because you know, right? And that's just a part of being an adult, a grown up, and taking responsibility for your life and your responsibilities. I just think anything outside of that is outside of your control, and you leave it up to everybody else. It's like living your life in default, right? It's your responsibility. Take accountability for your life and your family, right? So all the excuses, let them go. This is just real life. Like, let them excuses go and get your own policy. Because if something happens to grandma, or you thought you was on grandma policy, but grandma actually took you off that time y'all got into an argument, you ain't ready to take salad to cook out. She took you off that policy, man. She just didn't tell you, or you didn't get, you never know why people. I mean, I'm using that to be funny because I'm just goofy, but the real reality is you don't have any control and you don't know.
Just like
what if grandma didn't pay it and you thought grandma handed it? Grandma really didn't pay it. I've had that before though.
I
had
that
the mother was paying it the whole time. The mother was not paying it for the, or that you were giving your money to somebody and they were supposedly paying it for you. You don't need to be doing that either. If you don't know and you're not paying it, you're almost as if you don't have it. You need to be in that mindset of I don't have it. That's like your job.
You know, same thing I said with the job. Miss Denise, the same question. Why should you have your own policy outside of mama and papa?
Now are these young people saying
No. They're not 20 years old.
I ain't saying this.
Yeah, they're 40 sometimes.
Yeah, 40, 50 years
y'all
old.
know y'all wrong.
So the thing is this, guys. When they tell me that, I laugh. I say she sure do. Because it's smart mama, smart grandmama. Because they have coverage on you because they don't think you're responsible enough to do it yourself, number one. And not necessarily that. It could partially that, but partially because they just don't want to trust because they don't know what's going to happen to you. So they know that, God forbid, if you do die, that people are going to be looking at them to bury you. So they have their own little policy on you. But most of the people that say this are grown-ups with families. So your mother has a policy on you for her. It's not for your family. It's for her. So that, God forbid, if you die and she has to put up some money, she can bury you. It's not enough to take care of your family. She's thinking smartly about burying you. Right. So if she has that, do you think for real that she's giving that to your family? If something should happen to you? No. That's number one. Number two, grow up.
That's how it is. Grow up.
You are the adult.
That's what I was saying, basically, and all that I was saying.
She giving it her grow up because I hear from 30 and over. Yeah. It's not the 18 and 19. It's the older people. And I be like, what? Yeah, my grandmother got me a policy when I was 2. Oh, you're 35, boo, but okay, that's
and just like they say, you are not even certain that they really still have it. There's a lot of people, parents that have coverage on their children, and I think they're very smart. And I'll tell a lot now today, especially the ones that know that their kids don't have coverage. Then if you are thinking about that, you make it your responsibility to get someone done. Not a huge policy, just a small policy to take care of things if, God forbid, something should happen. Because if not, they're definitely going to be looking at you to do it. So,
but people will be a daggone shame saying that. But they will pay Xfinity, and they will pay Hulu, and they will pay Netflix, and they will pay. How are all these things more important than you and your family? I don't understand it.
I don't get it.
All right, so we got like 5 minutes left, so I'm going to skip 2 of the questions because y'all know all 3 of us can talk. So I'm going to go
especially about this topic.
Yeah, this topic can go on and on and on and on. So 2 things I wanted to get out of. Why do you think, both of y'all can answer, why do you think age, health, and lifestyle play a huge factor in life insurance? Age, health, and your lifestyle. Why do you think that plays a huge factor when it comes to life insurance?
I think we answered that a little bit before, but you go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first off, the insurance companies base their cost on all of that. They have a projection. They know exactly how many people are going to die when.
They know.
And I mean, well, not when. They know within a certain time. They know the health issues that are going to come into play, and so they know all of that. So they project their cost on that. For you, the reason that age, health, and lifestyle comes into play is because of the risk. So if you're older, you're closer to death, and they know that they are more likely to have to pay out. If you have health issues, they know you're going to die. I always like to make it like this, and I have given this example to people. Let's say you own the insurance company. It is yours. Because a lot of people say to me, when they're sick and they come and they can't get insurance, their mindset is, well, this is the time they should be insuring me. I'm going to pay my premiums every month, so they should be insuring me. So I give them this analogy. Let's say you are the insurance company. You own it. It's yours. And I come to you and I say, hey, I got this illness, that illness, that illness, that illness. I know I'm going to die soon. I just don't know when. But I want to send you $60 a month.
For $100,000.
And I want you to send $100,000 to my family when I die. Are you going to do that?
No.
No. And that's what they look at me and say, no, absolutely. The insurance company is not going to do it either. They're not going to take that chance with their money. You wouldn't take it with yours. So if you got illnesses at this point in time, that means you're a risk. They know you're going to die. So they're either going to rate you or they're not going to cover you.
Right.
One of the two. And then age, the older you are, the closer you are to death. And then your lifestyle. Now that's a big one because a lot of people says, well, what does that have to do with anything? Because if you're flying around all the time and you're the pilot, you will get rated.
At risk.
It won't stop you from getting coverage, but you will get rated. Why? Because you're in a helicopter, you're in an airplane, always flying around, and it's risky. Right. So they know that that is risky and it's more subject to you actually being taken out. Don't mean they won't cover you, they will cover you.
And Baltimore, though, lifestyle, when I was in the field, what I just dealt more with was people who had felonies who were denied for insurance and not understanding.
I can get families covered though, y'all.
But that's a big thing. That's a big thing. You know, some insurance companies will rate you or deny you.
Yeah.
Another thing is if yeah. And the other thing is it was another thing I was thinking about as far as lifestyle that will get you rated too. But anyway, yeah.
So as far as felony goes, that's a huge one. Because most people don't know about the felony clause. And then they come out and they're totally shocked about it. So a felony, and that's not just in Maryland, that's in any state. As far as felony, 10 years, you cannot get like regular life insurance coverage. You can get funeral expense coverage if you have a felony. But you can't get just regular life insurance for 10 years. But 10 years and 1 day, you can be covered. And one thing about that 10 years, because I know I used to think it was from, let's say a person was in jail and then they got out of jail. And I'm thinking the felony starts that day they get out of jail. It does not. The felony starts from the time you actually got the felony. So if you got the felony and you spent 10 years in jail, then you get out, you no longer have a felony. So that doesn't count when it comes down.
That was good. You got the whole hour.
Yes, the whole hour. See, you guys.
You can talk about
Yes.
So that was
go
it.
on and on and on.
That was that it?
Are
Was
we
still I don't know. Are we still on? So if y'all didn't catch the last 30 seconds, if we still on, our last thing was the tips for our listeners, and that was to just tell y'all to get life insurance, get covered, tell your family, tell your friends. Everybody needs to be covered. Everybody should have some type of policy that's good for them and their family when the time of need is there. So that's it, guys. Y'all have a good day.
All right.
Yes.
Yes. We can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Allow us at Eddie B Productions to capture, create, and celebrate all of your greatest moments. Let us turn your joy into memories that will last forever. As we remember our beloved Eddie Blick Jr., the very reason we do it all, we aim to put a smile on your face and also your heart. Whether a birthday party, wedding planning, organizing an event, or photography, we can service all your needs. You can follow us on Instagram at Eddie B Productions, email us at eddieb_productions93 at outlook.com, or call us at 410-303-01.